Tuesday. Sorry, I'm looking at my desktop. It's Tuesday, the 25th, July. Um, as I mentioned yesterday, I don't even bother anymore trying to sit in front of the camera and get that photo taken for the live session. It gets to the top of my head and nothing else. So I may as well just duck out of the way and give you all a shot of the books. And then I change it later if I bother. I don't mind showing off my books. It's the only proud collection that I own. So, had some interesting talks the last few days. I had an interesting talk yesterday. Lots of friends popped in, and we talked training. We talked being of service. All kinds of stuff. The Tao, the Bible, the parts of the Bible that seem to have should have the most impact on how we live our lives, which in my opinion would be the Sermon on the Mount, Beatitudes. Jesus gives clear, concise instructions. Do this. This is where I talked about training last time as well, because I liked Pavel's simple and sinister kettlebell routine. 2 things after you warm up. You do get-ups and you do swings. 10 reps total for get-ups, 100 reps total for swings. Do this. Clear instructions. You can't muck it up. I guess you could, but if you follow directions, you really can't. You shouldn't. Do your get-ups. Do 100 swings. Do this. And you are stronger, better, fitter when you're done. It adds up. Sermon on the Mount. Jesus says, do this. That's it. Clear, simple instructions. So Pavel's program is simple and sinister. The Beatitudes, Sermon on the Mount, is simple, but obviously you wouldn't want to call it sinister. Hey, Richard, how are you? 20-pound rock hike. Wow. You don't do much of a taper, do you, before your big races? I need to break out my rucksack. It's been a minute. It's been probably close to a year since I've rucked. And I enjoy it. I enjoy the feel. It doesn't have to be a super heavy pack. 20 pounds is a good weight because you're still mobile. You can still move, keep a good clip. I've rucked up to 60 pounds. When I backpack, when I used to backpack, my weight would get up to 60, although at a certain point, you start to minimize. If I were ever to get back into, not really so much ultra, but getting in some distance, I think fast packing would be the way to go for me. Really light, 20 pounds or under. And getting out there, getting on the trails, getting out my trekking poles, and traveling. Not necessarily running, although I might run some clips on the downhills, but just, I like that thought of traveling. 60 is a crazy weight for rucking, especially if you do any distance with it, which I didn't. 2 miles with 60 pounds is more than enough. And I don't think, if you ever listen to Coach Stan John and he talks about rucking, he's like 25 pounds. He might even mention 30 on occasion, but between 20 and 30, it's all you need. There's a point of diminishing returns, and anything probably over 30 pounds, depending on your body weight, of course, is just not going to get you any fitter and will probably do more to break you down. Richard, good luck in your race coming up this weekend. I know you said it's in the city. It should be a change of pace. I'm not sure I would say a nice change of pace, but a change of pace. We've done some 24-hour races in cities. I've done one once in Annapolis, capital of Maryland, and that was fun. You know, all races are fun in their own way. So you have ruck plates. I just throw in. Sometimes I use bags of rice. Sometimes I throw in a couple tens, or I throw in my 25-pound plate. It's not a rucking plate though. When I do time races, those short courses, Richard says his race is 1.2-mile loops. Is it a time race, 24-hour race? When I do time races, I actually prefer those shorter loops. It just feels right. We've done, Morgan and I did a race, Croatan Swamp, and it was, I think, just under a mile. But every loop felt different. Well, 48 hours. Good for you. I guess you were definitely shooting for 100 plus coming up. Gregory, how are you? Nice for you to pop in again. I appreciate it. I started off the talk with a familiar topic we were talking about yesterday, talking about the Bible, talking about the New Testament, and talking about specifically Sermon of the Mount, which some biblical scholars believe the only actual words in the New Testament spoken by Jesus. I'm a semi-retired ultra guy, Gregory. Gregory had mentioned that you guys are really ultra guys. Richard is really an ultra guy. I haven't done an ultra since 2019. My last race was in 2020. Wasn't an ultra. It was just a 11-mile trail race, which was a lot of fun. It was on sometimes those short courses in the mountains they run like an ultra. So 11 miles in this course really did feel similar to, not a 50K, but close to it. Richard says, yeah, 130 would be nice. 130 in 48 hours is a good clip. I'm going to be wishing you well. I know you're going to be doing some live updates. If anyone wants to check Richard. Richard runs trails. If I remember, and I hardly ever do, I post a link, and he's going to try to do some updates. I do mostly run walk myself, Gregory. I actually do some race walking, some power walking. My last 50K was actually power walk. I did it in 7 hours and 13 minutes. It was actually a 34-mile course. Yeah, I was speaking, Gregory was asking me about when I was speaking about the Bible. I was speaking specifically about the New Testament and Sermon of the Mount, the Beatitudes, and why I like them, even though I don't really consider myself a Christian in the sense that I practice Christian religion or theology, but I appreciate the teachings of Jesus. I appreciate the Bhagavad Gita. I appreciate the Quran. I appreciate the Tao Te Ching. The saying is, Jesus wasn't, hey Duncan, Jesus taught love. He didn't teach Christianity. The Buddha taught love, the way out of suffering. He didn't teach Buddhism. We really don't need to put those labels, although a lot of people get a deep spiritual sense of community by belonging to a church, which is awesome, which is great. Hey Duncan, how are you? I'm looking at Richard's message. He's talking about hopefully getting a signal so that he can go live for some updates of his race. Those who don't know, Richard's doing a 48-hour race this weekend. And to celebrate his upcoming race, he's out doing a 20-pound ruck, probably in 98-degree weather. The definition of tough. You go to the dictionary and you look up the definition of tough, and it's going to say Richard runs trails, and have a picture of Richard getting ready to do a set of pre-race burpees, probably. I'm doing pretty well, Duncan. Duncan Walsh Motivation, Duncan Walsh Fitness Motivation, posted a leg workout 2 days ago or yesterday. For those who are brave of heart, young of leg, and explosive by disposition, give it a try. If you do, you are a better man or woman than me, as I would be sore for 2 weeks. Just a little bit of explosiveness goes a very long way for me. I could probably work my way back to it, but it would be a painful journey to get there again. Gregory says that true, these religions are somehow all interrelated. I am also a Christian, but I am like you. Anyone following their religion is great. Truer words couldn't be spoken, Gregory. It's what we get out of our practice that counts. If you practice Christianity, in essence, be a good Christian, meaning be of service, be helpful, be loving, be kind, be forgiving. Take the teachings of Jesus and be that. That's who we are in the core. Religion doesn't so much, which philosopher said, I always fall back on Kierkegaard. I don't know why. He said everything, in my opinion. But I think it might have been Kierkegaard that said, circumstances don't make the man, they reveal the man. And that's what spiritual practices do. We don't get better by practicing spiritual practices. We take off all the stuff that we're not, and we reveal ourselves, in essence, to be kind, to be compassionate, to be respectful, to be everything that we are without label. And that's what a spiritual practice does. Richard's run, Duncan asked how long Richard's run was. It's a 48-hour race. So you do as much as you can in 48 hours. You can stop if you want. Some people stay on their feet the whole time. Some people take naps or sleep for a while. I know some people who've gotten their first 148 so that they can take a nap halfway through. He said his goal was, he'll almost certainly get 100 miles. He said his goal would be nice to get 130 miles. Let's see. Gregory said, I've even met atheists who also believe in respecting others and their religious tools. I have as well, Gregory. And in a way, that's because they're not limited. They don't have to just be kind because their religion tells them so. They're kind because they're basically good people. Some of the best people I met have been atheists. My father would have considered himself an atheist. He was brought up a Quaker Methodist family. I come from a family of Quakers on my father's side, but he left everything behind, and he was just a good person, kindest man I knew. Let's see. Duncan has a question. Would you say you have a regimented daily routine? I see a lot of fitness burpee guys do. And yes, I have an extremely regimented. I don't consider it regimented, but Mocha would probably say retentive. She might even throw in the anal retentive. I have rituals. I have things that I do that make me feel better. Things that I do that bring joy in my life. Things that I do that improve my health. I mentioned quite frequently, I'm up at 4 a.m. I have a very specific dental care routine. I do oil pulling. You take a teaspoon or tablespoon of oil. Right now I'm using coconut oil, but you can use sunflower. You can use safflower. You swish it in your mouth anywhere from 5 to 20 minutes. I usually do about 7 minutes. I don't know why I do 7 minutes. I do all kinds of things for weird set times that have no meaning or significance other than I just happen to fall on that. Um, it's like my 50-second countdown before I do my 6 counts in Navy SEALs. Um, Reverend Terminator, hey, thanks for coming in. I appreciate it. I always appreciate. Sometimes I'll see one person is watching, and then they'll flash off and then come back. And I always think what you say, Reverend Terminator is in the bushes, and it makes me feel good knowing that you're around, that you're checking in, that you're good enough, kind enough, respectful enough person that you just want to let me know your presence and you're wishing me well. And that means a lot. And it means a lot for all my friends here who pop in, even just to say hi for a minute. I was talking about my routine with Duncan. And so, yeah, I have the dental routine. It takes me 15 minutes, less than 15 minutes, actually. And then I meditate right after. And then I do yoga, my coffee. And I drink my coffee as I'm writing. I have a pre-sunrise walk that I take. Then I get ready, I warm up, I do my burpees. And my day proceeds from there. This has actually become part of my regimented routine. Just falls into place to have a conversation about nothing, about whatever comes up. Duncan is asking, do you think if every day is regimented, there's danger of Groundhog Day? Or do you prefer that? And you know what? It's so weird. My life right now, as regimented as it is, almost Groundhog Day in some respect, it's all spontaneous. These things just happen. It is all entirely spontaneous. That's the paradox. You have to accept that paradox. And thank you, Gregory. Gregory's complimenting my routine. You have amazing routines. I try. I don't try to make an amazing routine. I do the things that bring me joy. And again, it really, truly is spontaneous because I don't look at my clock and say, 6 o'clock, I have to do this. 4 o'clock, I have to do this. It falls around these specific times, but that joy of, I want to do this, that spontaneous of, this is a thing that I do. It goes back to the oft-quoted Tao Te Ching every day, the Bhagavad Gita, where they talk about the absence of a doer. And in the absence of a doer, things are just done. It's not me saying, do this, do that. When I sit down to write, I don't have a theme. I don't say, today I'm going to write about yoga. I often do. Today I'm going to write about nature. I often do. Probably most often of all these days. But words come, and I find myself writing. This specific time, and I find that I make a cup of coffee. As my water's boiling, I drink instant coffee. I do my yoga, my first round of yoga. It's all just this spontaneous, joyful happening. Things that I enjoy, greatly enjoy. I have a charmed life these days. Not without issues, a lot of issues. Again, if Mocha popped in, she might type me a whole lot of issues. But it's a charmed, joyful life. Some dark times, taking care of my father and passing away not too long ago. But how much more charmed can it get that I got to be my dad's caregiver? I got to sit with him as he passed away. I got to comfort him every single day, have conversations with him. Man, it doesn't get more charmed than that. Gregory is talking about he went through a slump last 2 weeks, felt down, couldn't understand what was wrong, but finally I bounced back and feeling better. I noticed that I hadn't seen you for a little bit. I was enjoying your work out in the parks. You got outside and you got in some great workouts. I enjoy all your workouts in the gym and when you get outside. And the other stuff that you post, your drives, It's just good to see uh, people who you consider your friends and how they enjoy their lives in different ways. I'm glad you got over your slump, Gregory. Um, don't be shy about reaching out for inspiration whenever whenever you need it. It's the great thing about having a burpee community, a fitness community. Um, if you need motivation, it's there. If you need inspiration, it's there. Um, Everyone sort of pulls in together when needed or even when not needed. Just knowing, as I mentioned with Reverend Terminator, just knowing that, somebody in the world far away, I've never seen face to face, cares enough to see that when I go live, makes his presence known. Sometimes he doesn't even make his presence known until after, but just knowing that he does that kind of stuff, um, greatly appreciated. Knowing that Duncan and Gregory and Richard's on a truck lugging 20 pounds, and again, it's probably 95 degrees or more, and he takes the time out to say hi. Gregory takes time out of his busy schedule. I know Duncan's probably busy, taking time out just to have a conversation with me, listening to some guy ramble on about every possible topic under the sun. Um, that's what we're all here for. When I see a friend go live, I do my best to pop in, even if it's just for a moment, and say, hey, checking in. It's my pleasure to support you guys in any way that I'm capable of. Gregory says, lucky man to have a charmed life. Sorry to hear about your dad's passing. You were lucky to get to spend time with your dad. I certainly was, Gregory. I don't take that lightly at all. He had made my life considerably easier than it would have been. To be able to pay him back for that was probably the greatest service of my life, as well as caring for my mother as she had a long and slow decline due to Alzheimer's disease. And I helped my dad be a caregiver for her. Important things that we can do, and they always come up. Little things we can do. Hold the door for someone. Help someone cross the street. Buy some Girl Scout cookies. Little tiny things. Every day, there'll be something. Pick up a worm dying on a hot sidewalk. Don't step on an ant. Little things. Being kind has no measurement. One small kind act is as large in essence as any other grand gesture that we could possibly do. Gregory, you're welcome for the support. And I understand the biblical verses and church hymns helped me through the exercise, and exercise helped. It's the same with me for meditation. It's the same for spiritual reading. I have spiritual texts all over that I like to open and just read. I use the term spiritual lightly. It's not, I have friends who take issue with that word spiritual. They take issue with meditation. They say you don't need to meditate for awakening. You don't need to do yoga to have that great enlightenment to happen, or a small awakening or whatever. And who says it does? Who says it doesn't? I don't care. I like it. I enjoy it. I do these things because they bring pleasure to my life, because it occurs to me to do it. I don't think this is the thing to do. This is going to bring me this. This is going to do whatever. I don't do burpees to get 250 reps every time I do burpees. I do burpees. Sometimes I get a lot of reps. Sometimes I don't get a lot of reps. When I walk, I'm not trying to get from point A to point B. I'm trying to walk. The purpose is in everything you do. It's not in the end result of what you do. The purpose of doing something isn't to achieve, it's to do. Gregory is saying that he is lucky to have his dad in his life, in his home, and he passed away while living in my place. It was a privilege. It certainly is. It's a huge privilege. We are here in form, body, because of our parents. Any way we can pay them back is, and it's not even a payback. It's, you know, it's being kind to someone, and it's being kind to someone who's responsible for your life, who brought you here, who brought you up. It's what we do. Gregory is saying each one to his own, each one does what they do, who they pray to makes themselves happy. We cannot decide for others. Again, very true words, Gregory. Right to the actual point. Really, nothing more needs to be said than that. To each to their own. There's no harm in however you worship, whatever you do to bring you peace of mind, whatever you do, just to do, because it's there to be done. Duncan had asked me, do I avoid American politics? It makes UK politics look tame at the moment. It really does. No, I am neck deep in the thick of politics, but I'm not political, if that makes sense. I could easily be labeled a liberal, but I'm going to paraphrase the Dalai Lama at the conference of religious leaders when everyone was standing up and saying, my religion is Christianity, my religion's following the teachings of Jesus through the Latter-day Saints, my religion is Buddhism, whatever. The Dalai Lama stood up and said, my religion is kindness. My politics are kindness. If that labels me in a certain political party, so be it. I am not a label. I don't fit in a label. I am not anything of a label or even a description, but my politics reflects the kindness, reflects my heart, reflects who I am, who I'd like to be, and everything comes from there. Again, some people would say, well, that makes you whatever. I don't believe anyone should be denied medical need for any reason whatsoever. Free universal health care? Sure. Why do I care if my taxes pay for you to get dental work when you're in need of it? Why should I care if my taxes go to pay for you to have surgery, to treat heart condition, to get your diabetes treated? Sure. I want it. That's what I want my taxes to take care of. The least among you, again, in the Bible, we're given clear instructions on what to do. Gregory was saying politics, religions are topics to avoid. I agree with Dalai Lama. Kindness, they are topics to be avoided. That's for sure. Probably especially on YouTube. Somebody is going to watch this and say, another liberal spouting there. But again, I'm not a liberal. I can easily be viewed that way, and I don't dispute that my feelings probably point me in that direction. But again, a famous philosopher, and I don't know who it is, so I'm going to go out and say Kierkegaard again. Once you label me, you negate me. Which is why I don't want to point at someone and say Republican, conservative, whatever. You're you. You have politics, and they might be different from me, but you're you. If I can look past those politics, I can see the essence of you, and we're on the same wavelength. I know you want to be kind. Whoever I'm talking to or about. I know you want to be kind. Let's find a way to get there. Let's find a way to get there together. Well, not to avoid, but avoiding them makes them less confrontation. I agree. And Gregory was saying, not a liberal. You're walking on a thin ice. Stay strong. I am not a liberal only because I don't fit into a label. And I don't believe anyone fits into a label. I don't believe conservatives fit into a label because nobody is 100% one thing. Um, Again, my who I vote for is probably almost 100% certainly going to be someone who's labeled a liberal, which is absolutely fine if they reflect my values. It just so happens that those values, again, seem to have a liberal bias. In my opinion, the universe has a liberal bias because everything's changing, everything's becoming, everything is opening up, and things are. Gregory was saying, I like that statement, don't put a label on me, and I absolutely agree. It's just, if I put a label on you, Gregory, I'm no longer seeing Gregory. I'm seeing the label. I'm seeing my perception. I'm seeing my projection. I'm not seeing Gregory. I'm not seeing the truth of Gregory. The truth of Gregory is in the heart. It's in the conversation that I'm having with the man right now. It has nothing to do with who he voted for. It has nothing to do with any label that anyone else might put on him, let alone me. Same with Duncan, same with Richard Ventrell, same with everyone who pops in. I don't care what your politics are. I care about what you do. And I know some of my burpee friends vote differently than me, but they show up. I see them do acts of kindness. I see them treat friends and family respectfully, kindly, lovingly. What more do I need to know? So, but I do find that's a long-winded way. Thank you, Gregory. That's a long-winded way answering Duncan's question. But right now, with so many important things going on, I find that I need to, at the very least, keep abreast in political discourse. I don't want my planet to burn. I don't want Phoenix to be 118 degrees anymore. It's going to be, and it's going to be hotter. I don't want women denied to make their own personal choice, regardless of how I might feel. I mean, there's a list of things that I don't want. So I keep abreast what's going on. But I do my utmost best to be respectful and to be kind, which is coincidence, a synchronicity, because Gregory just posted true. Kindness is the key. And it is. Kindness is the only way to go through life. We could say unconditional kindness. When I say kindness, what I'm talking about is love in action. Love itself is, we can view love as consciousness, and consciousness itself is all inclusive. It holds everything, regardless. It doesn't have a bias. Everything appears in consciousness. How can I be against gay people when gay people appear in consciousness? How can I be against trans people when trans people? Now, I can have an opinion. That's different. How can I be against anything that appears in consciousness? Because if it's in nature, it is. It's really that simple. If it is in nature, if it appears, it is. It's reality. Reality is love. And love holds everything. Love expressed is kindness. Duncan says, I find though, as soon as one takes a position and forms an opinion, there will be people opposed to that viewpoint. Yeah, for sure. Gregory probably has a really good point, telling me to be careful at what I'm saying, because there will be someone, who will have something to say about that, I'm sure, which is fair enough. You know, everyone has an opinion. Here's the thing, it's an opinion, and it's not even them. They have an opinion, but why do they have an opinion? They have an opinion because they have thoughts forming in consciousness. They have thoughts that aren't even theirs. Thoughts just show up. Where do they come from? I don't know. Electrical impulses. And then they're inherited. They're given to someone else. And we form a story of who and what we are. And then someone else comes along and says, wait a minute, my story is different than yours, like Duncan said. And, you know, how dare you have a different viewpoint than me? But why do you have your viewpoint? Because your parents did, because your teachers told you something, because you saw this on the news, because some random thought popped in your head and you thought, I thought it, so it must be true, it must be real. I like this, I don't like that. This pulls me one way, this pulls me another. So we form these stories, and then we deny anyone else the ability to have their own story. But if we see it all as a story, you know, why is yours better than mine? Why is mine better than yours? Because it's mine. Thank you, Gregory. He says he thinks I am well qualified to be a fantastic preacher in any church. Congratulations. You know what? I do appreciate that. For me, it's teaching yoga. You know, and by yoga, I don't mean the physical asanas, the postures. It's teaching the philosophy of yoga. The word yoga itself means union, physical and the divine being one thing. If I can talk about that, if I can give a pointer to lead people in that direction, that, as Jesus said, the kingdom of heaven is right here and right now. Don't put it off for some future date when we think we're going to get it when we die. Kingdom of heaven is now. There's really no minced words in the New Testament. The kingdom of heaven is now. It's here. Why do we put it off? The Buddha says nirvana is now, here and now. Why do we put it off? Accept it and live it in this moment. Joseph Canoli, am I pronouncing that right? Thanks for stopping in. I actually don't know what that is, your comment. I would be afraid to pronounce it because I wouldn't be able to do it justice. Duncan is saying the important thing is distinguishing between opinion and fact. The issue when people gaslight false facts. I agree. We confuse opinions, our own opinions, for fact, for the simple reason that we believe them. And even when given facts, instead we believe our opinion and we call them facts. And as Duncan says, we gaslight people because we believe our stories. You know, even facts can become a story if we build a story around them. The thing is, when you get clear, oh, hey, thanks. I appreciate the compliment, and I appreciate the clarification from Duncan. I'll have to look him up. I do not know any famous footballers. I knew one, Pele. Everyone knew Pele, especially growing up in the 70s. You knew who Pele was. If you knew nothing about football, soccer, you knew Pele. In the town that I grew up in, Columbia, Maryland, everyone played soccer at least for a season. I played and was a miserable player, as I was in a lot of sports, oddly enough, because I was very physical. I loved running, I loved pushing myself, but when it became like an organized activity, I lost all interest and I just wasn't very good at it. I played high school football for a season. I wrestled for a season. I was mediocre in everything, fairly okay in martial arts. was a decent ultra runner. Um, I do like Ted Lasso. Um, Wonderful series. Really made me feel good just watching it. Um, Top footballers. I really should pay more attention to it. That shows you, even a country's bias because it's not on here often. I don't watch it or pay attention to it, but it's kind of ridiculous as it's what the world's most popular sport, probably the most watched sport in the world. Um, Duncan is asking if I enjoy watching sports. No, not really. I try sometimes. I can't bring myself to watch football, especially knowing the micro damage that they're doing to themselves and that they have done since a young age, and that none of them will ever be 100% okay after their playing days are done. I can't watch um, the violence inflicted upon themselves, and I don't mean that in a way. I'd rather watch boxing than football. At least boxing seems to be regulated to the point of, minimizing that type of damage. And I don't watch boxing anymore either. I used to love watching boxing. I followed it very closely. I used to follow MMA fairly closely. But again, it's just hard to watch people inflict damage upon themselves. And I don't mean that like in a competitive sports way, meaning the damage they're doing to themselves, not to other people, that they're going to have to live with for the rest of their lives. Every time you have that little micro trauma of a helmet hitting a helmet, just like, again, micro trauma, something very small, just doesn't seem worth it. I do like watching some races. If you see a well-run 10K race, it could be phenomenal to watch. Even a 100-meter race. And Gregory is saying, congratulations on the great win by USA's. I did hear about that. I didn't watch it, but I did hear about that. We do seem to have a better women's football team than men's, if I'm not mistaken. I'm almost always hearing something phenomenal about American women footballers. I don't hear as much from the men's. Gregor was saying the UK was lucky to get through the first game with a penalty, but I think they'll improve in the next game. Main thing was to get through the first game with a win. Good luck to the UK. Soccer is so big throughout so much of the world, and it means so much to so many people, which for me is never a small thing. If some people are moved by watching what another person does with their body, it's like watching gymnastics. It's phenomenal to see what someone can do with their body. You watch a swimmer. The other day, Barefoot Burpees and Duncan, we were talking about tennis players and golfers. The dedication to be a good golfer, not a good golfer, a great golfer, to be a top tennis player, starting so young, but yet so continuous throughout, to be that good, that type of dedication, it's just beyond phenomenal. So, so I should say mostly I don't watch organized sports, but, like I said, I will get on YouTube and I'll pull up a clip of somebody doing something phenomenal. Recently, and I don't know if Richard is still watching, a women's ultra runner. She, about a month ago, set the course record on Western States 100 miles. 3 weeks later, she set the course record on Hard Rock, which is considered maybe the hardest 100 miler, definitely in North America, if not the world, actually. That's just crazy to be able to do that with your body that consistently, running that hard. Um, Duncan is saying repetition. Repetition is the name of all the game. Yes, it is. Um, Even from my own sports activity, I mean, a lot of the sports that I participated in based on reps. Kettlebell lifting, all about how many reps you get in a set period of time. Um, Gregor was saying, I love athletes too. Our favorite athlete, Wade Van Neerlerk, I'm probably not saying that right, is still the world record holder in the 400 meter with a blistering time of 43:03 seconds. Yeah, that's fast. Um, yeah, I love all of that. Um, that's the kind of stuff that I like watching. So I guess to answer Duncan's question, yes, I like watching sports. I don't watch organized sports. I don't watch American football. I don't watch American baseball. Although I was just telling Mocha this morning, I love baseball. I just don't like the game. I don't like watching it. Um, but I love that it is in the very fabric of the American DNA. It's not summer without baseball. Just to hear it in the background, to know that people are playing, to know that people are enjoying the game, that's enough for me. There's saying in sports that practice makes perfect, whereas perfect practice makes perfect, similar to many disciplines. I agree. When I competed in kettlebell sport, and it was all virtually for me, um, I could do online competitions, and you just point a camera and you do your set. Someone will count the reps, and you compare it to others. Although you can do, you know, in in person competition as well. It's all about reps, and it's all about that perfect rep. Um, and Gregory, thanks for stopping in. I know you have to get off. Actually, I'm gonna head off as well. So it's a good time to say goodbye to everyone. I appreciate you stopping by. Um, as always, a great conversation with everyone. Great insightful questions from Duncan, as well as a lot of great personal insights. I always come away from a talk when you guys participate feeling like I know a little bit more about the topics that we've talked about, feeling like I've opened up a bit to some great knowledge. So I appreciate you guys. Thank you. Um, Tomorrow is the Navy SEALs burpee day. So I'm starting to gear up for that now. 24-hour gearing up. I answered a question the other day from Duncan on my page, on my channel, about um, uh, Navy SEALs. Probably the one that I dread most because it's using the most muscles in that motion. You go into oxygen depth faster, I think. More things have time to hurt. So I gear up for that now. Not really, but you know, it's in the back of my mind. All right, guys. So, yep, I'll see you tomorrow for some burpees, and then I'll be talking again later. Thank you, guys.